Welcome to It's Your Dime, a straight talk interview series presented by SchiffGold. I'm your host, Mike Maharrey. In this episode, I'll be talking to Silver Institute Executive Director Michael DiRienzo about the silver market. In this interview, Michael and I talk about his work at the Silver Institute, the evolution of silver as an industrial metal, future demand trends for silver in industrial applications, overall silver demand, why investors should consider adding silver to their portfolios, silver supply trends, and the large silver-gold ratio. I'm here this morning with Michael DiRienzo. He's the Executive Director of the Silver Institute. And Michael, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to me today.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it as well. Great opportunity.
Well, the first thing that I always do with these interviews is this is a segment I like to call Who Are You and Why Are You on My Show? And
Sure.
So just give me a little bit of your personal background and what you do there at the Silver Institute.
You bet. So, I came to Washington in the late 80s, working on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress, worked on the House Banking Committee, worked in the House Rules Committee, and then made that natural progression from the Hill to the private sector. I was a lobbyist for one of the member companies of Toyota Motors, and then I became a communications specialist here when we represented the Gold Institute, the American Zinc Association, and the Silver Institute. And in 2005, I became the executive, or 2006, I became the executive director of the Silver Institute. And, our goals here are really, really simple. It's been around since 1971. In the early days, it used to be a rather technical organization. It would put out papers and policy statements on silver's use in alloys and brazing and photography. And it's developed over the years to be more of a market-making association where we really rely on putting out accurate and timely reports on the market. So we put out a bi-monthly Silver News. We do 7 or 8 press releases on unique aspects of the market each year. And we also, of course, put out our World Silver Survey, which is considered by many to be the best source of silver statistics on the market. And we like to spread the knowledge and understanding of silver, its uses, its unique uses, and so forth. And our Silver News, which is translated into Spanish and Chinese, is a great vehicle for doing so on a global basis.
Absolutely. Regular readers of the SchiffGold website are very much familiar with Silver News. I highlight it every time it comes out and link
Excellent.
to it. So we definitely use that resource, and I can certainly confirm what you're saying about being an excellent source of information on the market and what's going on. And of course, for investors, that type of information is invaluable. So it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Silver's always been more of an industrial metal than gold, but I think that use has evolved over the years. Like, I know that it used to be big in photography, and we don't do photography the same way anymore. So can you kind of explain how the
Sure.
industrial uses of evolution has evolved over the last couple of decades?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you go back to just 2002, for example, one of the highest years for silver's use in photography at about 204.3 million ounces of silver that year. You can translate that and correlate that with the advent of the BlackBerry, which had a camera, other devices which had a camera, and shortly, within a 10-year to 12-year time frame, you saw that number go down to about 100 million ounces. In 2017, it was 44 million ounces, but that's pretty much stabled off. And I've been reading a lot lately about these new Fuji single-use camera films, which actually have the name of certain celebrities imprinted on that for concerts and what have you. And it's really making a big comeback. So we think that silver's use in photography has really much leveled off, especially when you look at its use in third world countries, single-use film cartridges, as well as some medical x-rays and so forth. But the evolution of silver, when the photography started to make its big or its decline, people were wondering what's next. Well, so many other things have filled that void. Silver used in industrial applications has grown. Some years it's a little higher, but it's grown since 2002. And you're looking at new areas like silver's use in plastics, ethylene oxide, silver demand in photovoltaics, which is a huge offset for silver. Silver is used in the automotive sector. It used to be that your car, you could, if you had the means to buy a high-end car, those were the only cars that have the safety features that you see today on virtually every vehicle. So I'm talking about the rear window the rear cameras, and they all need silver to make the contacts work, to make the electricity work. The hybrid vehicles, the electrical vehicles are all using more and more silver. So we think that's another big area for growth demand.
Yeah, talking about photography, it's interesting because I have a number of friends who are really big into photography, and they like working in film, especially for certain artistic applications, because you have so much more control over what you come out with on the back end. So,
right. Well, the quality is better. It needs to be developed, of course. How many people actually really develop the snaps off their phones? Not many. So in order for you to use the digital, the silver halide photography, 9 out of 10 times those pictures are being printed, and 9 out of 10 times they're being printed on silver halide paper as well. They last longer, they look better. There are tons of organizations across the world that are solely devoted to hobbyists that are really, really in tune and have a strong affinity for this type of photography. You're right.
What is it about silver that makes it so useful in electronic applications?
Well, first and foremost, it's electrical conductivity. Of all the metals, it is the best. It has been used for ages in many uses. But when you look at the industrial applications for silver, it really is the #1 metal in terms of its longevity, its electrical properties. It's malleable. It can be stretched into thin wires. It's really the metal of choice for industrialists.
So looking ahead to, say, the next 10 to 20 years, and of course understanding there's no crystal ball here, so we can't say that there's going to be X numbers, but what are some trends that you see in the world of the industrial uses? Isn't it about 60% of silver is about 60% of the demand from industrial uses?
Yeah, it's nearly 60% or right at 60%, and that's a big number.
Yeah.
PV, photovoltaic, has taken us where we are today, as have automotive and other uses. But some of the smaller uses will just add to the whole compendium of silver's use in industrial components going forward. Will be silver's use in water purification, in the medical arena, in your textiles. You can turn on the radio here in Washington, D.C. and hear advertisements from certain men's underwear brands and socks use silver, which has been entwined and entwined and woven into the textiles of these products. Major companies like Adidas, Lululemon, Nike, and so forth all use silver in some of their products, not all their products, but some of their products. You can buy silver-based gloves that have silver threads sewn into the fingertips. You can operate your iPad or your cell phone outdoors. So the uses of silver are ever expanding, and they really are growing every day.
It's interesting. I find the medical uses of it pretty fascinating. A lot of people probably are aware that it does have antibacterial qualities, and I know for a fact that I had heart surgery a number of years ago, and one of the antibacterial medications that they used had silver in it. So that's just one of the small things.
That's fantastic. You can buy silver-based products, Band-Aids and gauzes and so forth at your local drugstore. EMTs, emergency medical technicians, all have silver swathed cloths for burn victims or accident victims. And the reason why they have it is because it works.
Yeah.
And not only heals the wound quicker, but it also prevents really in deep scarring. So people are really relying on silver more and more in their everyday life. And as a matter of fact, if I can just go off subject here for a second,
Please do.
we're going to talk a lot about silver's use in our everyday life in 2019. We're engaged at the initial stages of a sustainability campaign where we're going to talk about silver mining across the world and how it's done responsibly, how it's done with the attention and in coordination with the local officials, state governments, various countrywide level governments. But the thing we're really going to talk about is how it affects your life. People hear about silver, they may think about a coin, they may think about silver jewelry, they may think about some of the old adages, silver lining, born with a silver spoon in their mouth,
Right.
or whatever. We're going to really focus and point out the fact that silver surrounds you every moment you're alive.
Very cool. So you guys just released your demand and supply report. I think I just botched the official name of it, but I'll actually link to that on the show notes page so people can check it out specifically. And I've already actually highlighted it on SchiffGold.com/news. But I know that demand was down a little bit, I think about 3% in 2018. What are some of the factors that kind of went into the I won't say big drop off, but maybe sluggishness in demand?
And to be quite honest with you, we put that report out just a few weeks ago.
Right.
And it's not our final report. Our World Silver Survey will be released on April 11.
Okay.
We'll have a better understanding as these numbers keep flowing in. The outside consultancy that puts that report together for us is working hard on getting it ready for April 11th. But on the demand side, those numbers are still changing even today. It could be 2%. It could be 1%.
Right.
On the supply side, we could see even further reduction in mine supply because these numbers, as the companies start reporting their quarterly or year-end reports, we see more information. But to your question on demand, it was really primarily driven by bullion, coin, and bar investment, which has been not too good in recent years. That is the real sole reason why you'll see the demand equation with a little bit of slip. But the good news is we are calling for an increase in total investment this year, including coins and bars. And if you just look at the U.S. Mint, for example, we sold, I believe, over 4 million coins in the month of January. We're already a couple thousand coins over our peak point in mid-February. When you go year on year with 2018. And this is also happening in India and other parts of the world. So there is a return to the silver investment from the coin and bar side. And at the end of the day and at the end of the year, that's going to show that the demand equation will be much higher than it was in 2018.
Right. And we're seeing the same thing in gold investment. It really started to pick up in the, last couple of months of 2018 and then going forward into this year. And of course, a lot of that had to do with the stock market plunge and, the finaglings of the Federal Reserve. Which
exactly.
Looks increasingly like the tightening cycle is over, which boggles my mind that 2.5% interest rates are now normal, but I guess that's the world we live in. So people tend to focus more on gold as an investment metal, and of course our company is called SchiffGold, so that's always the emphasis. But if somebody is holding gold, why consider silver as well?
Well, silver has always been used as an investment. It's been an investment for thousands and thousands of years, as has gold. Silver has the unique component of its volatility. Okay, it's a volatile metal. It spikes up and it can spike down. People like to play that hedge point in between.
Right.
And people, for example, like to buy silver. You look at the coins, the collector coins, not just the bullion coins, but on the numismatic side, people buy these coins. They're obviously less expensive than gold. You can get into an ETF, which seems to be very popular these days on both gold and silver. But the silver ETFs, you can own silver bullion and not have to worry about storing, insurance, and those issues.
Right.
So from a silver investment standpoint, we see the world of silver investment going higher and higher as the years go on.
I'll tell you one of the reasons personally I like silver and hold a good bit of silver is that if you're looking at something, and not to be conspiratorial, but if you're looking at a major economic crash, I can use silver coins to barter, and in fact I've actually done some business transaction in silver where I sold the rights to my book for audiobook for silver, and of course it was significantly less face value than what I could have charged, but the value of the silver, I came out ahead on that deal. Let's just put it that way. So
very good.
That's one of the nice things about silver is that unlike gold, you can't really carry around a 1 ounce gold coin and go buy a cup of coffee. But silver, it's definitely more of a barter value there. So that's something I know a lot of investors look at as well. And again, not necessarily even being conspiratorial, but you look at countries like Greece and other places where there were major banking crisis, and then all of a sudden you had people that were counting on a barter economy. So I like to have that peace of mind as well. So,
I mean, gold and silver are money, and there's no other
exactly.
question about it. They are money. They are fungible, and that's just the way it is.
So let's talk on the supply side a little bit and mine output. You just mentioned that, and I'm much more knowledgeable in what's going on with the gold output. I know that gold mine production has basically plateaued over the last few years. We've seen small increases in output, but nothing like what we were seeing in the 80s and into the 90s. And some people are actually talking about, and these are people in the mining industry talking about the prospect of peak gold, where we could actually see sustained decreases in production over the next few decades. What are some of the dynamics going on in the silver mine production?
Well, silver, of course, is unique to gold in that only 30% of silver that is mined as a source of new metal comes from what's known as a primary silver mine.
Right.
So you'll find most of your silver mining silver that comes to the earth from other sources of mining, copper, lead, zinc, gold, and so forth. We do believe that the primary silver mine, silver coming to the market, will be lower this year. We predict it will decrease by 2%. How that portends around the other mining activities, I don't quite have a handle on it now. But what you're seeing, for the first time in years, we reported last year in 2018 about the 2017 market, was a decline in mine supply. We're probably going to see the same thing in 2018. And in 2019, we're calling for even less supply of silver to the market. Now, as the prices go up, of course, on the scrap side, you're going to see retail sales or people turning in silver products, silver coins back to the market. Very similar to what we saw in 2011 on the gold and silver side. So we're very confident that, I don't want to say it's plateaued, but we're very confident in saying that it has certainly decreased, and it's at a level now that we haven't seen in 20 years in terms of the percentage of increase and decrease.
So it is interesting that, and so I'm just kind of thinking the wheels in my head are turning. So if you're some of this has to do with the economic factors that are going on around, not even having anything to do with silver. So for instance, if demand for copper falls off, then that could affect the supply of silver because it's a byproduct of copper. Am I reading that right?
Absolutely. Okay. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So looking at the investment world, we've seen a growing spread in the gold-silver ratio. I haven't looked at it in the last week or so, but I know it was up as high as like 86 at one point a couple of months ago, which was historically high levels. First off, what's kind of the factors going on in there that's creating the spread, and do you see it returning? And again, understanding there's no crystal ball here, but kind of looking at the dynamics. Do you feel like it's going to come back closer to a more historical level, or is this maybe the new norm?
No, we think it is. We think it's going to return to levels that we saw 10, 15 years ago, even 5, 6, 7 years ago, 2010, 2011. The factors that are leading to this, obviously, is the gold price is higher, and the silver price is not catching up at the same percentage, leading to this widening gap in the ratio. But we saw points last year where that number narrowed. We're seeing points earlier this year where that number has narrowed. And we think that these two metals, if silver continues to grow and gold continues to grow, silver will grow with it. The percentage of increase on the silver side is much greater than, and the percentage of a fall is much greater on the silver side, just based on the price point. So it takes more for the gold price to achieve a higher rate of increase versus the silver side. We are confident that this number will come down.
So going back to like the, I think it was the early 80s when we saw silver prices go to levels of $50 an ounce or at least close to that. And of course, we're nowhere near that range anymore. First off, what drove silver prices that high at that time?
Well, that was all done primarily by the Hunt brothers out of Texas that were looking to corner the silver market. And that really got the price up to a certain level. But there are more recent examples of silver being near those levels. And you just go to April of 2011. 2 years, 3 years after the great financial collapse, global collapse, people were really putting their money into precious metals, including silver. If you look at the historical silver London fix charts for those days, you're seeing $45, $46. Near the end of April of 2011, the price got to almost $50 again. It got to $49.60. And then over the weekend, there was some big news in the terrorism front with Osama bin Laden being killed.
Right.
And the price started to go down gradually go down. And it's closed that year, I believe, with an average of above 30. And then since then, it's gone down. But it can go up again just as fast as it did back in 2011 and again in 1980.
Right. So that's really the volatility that you were talking about
The volatility in this metal is just extraordinary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that pretty much covers the questions that I had for you. Is there anything that you would like to add? First off, well, actually, wait a minute. I almost forgot the most important thing. I have a fun question that I ask all of my guests, okay?
Sure.
And this is very crucial, actually, because it will determine whether or not you'll ever be able to be on the show again. So no pressure. So when you're typing on a computer, do you put two spaces at the end of a sentence?
This is a great debate. This is the debate I think that is one of the most important debates this country can have, this world can have.
I agree.
My wife is a writer. She writes television shows. She firmly believes in one space after the period. I believe in two.
Oh my!
I like two, but let me go back. If you look at the press release we just put out, I typed it. It's one space after the period.
It is.
I over the last 18 months, I have become more normalized with the rest of society, and I'm one space now.
Your wife has done a great service for humanity.
She is really doing a great job, and I appreciate that question. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Michael. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you give us any links and places that we can find the Silver Institute that you would like to share?
Absolutely. So silverinstitute.org. From that site, you'll have access to all of our reports. You'll have access to sign up for Silver News. You'll also have information on the market, timely information on silver's industrial uses and so forth. So we really encourage you to go to that site. Also, saversilver.com, which is our jewelry wing of the Silver Institute, where we like to create programs to increase awareness and jewelry sales in the sterling silver arena on a global basis. So saversilver.com and silverinstitute.org.
Do you guys have a Twitter?
We do. It's at Silver Institute.
Great. Well, I really encourage folks to sign up for the all of the newsletters and whatnot, because, like I said, it's invaluable information. We post it on our website. We use it on a regular basis, and it's great information. And
well, great.
I don't know that there's any place out there that you can get better information on what's going on in the silver market. So, Michael, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us, and appreciate the work you're doing. And
thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Michael will be in touch, and I'll continue to single space after every period. Okay?
Bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
You've been watching It's Your Dime, an interview series presented by SchiffGold. For more information on investing in gold and silver, talk to a SchiffGold precious metal specialist today at 1-888-GOLD-160. That's 1-888-465-3160. Or visit us on the web at SchiffGold.com. You can keep up with all of the latest precious metals news at SchiffGold.com/news. And tune in each week to the SchiffGold Friday Gold Wrap podcast. This is your host, Mike Maharrey. I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you again next time.